Hello, my name is Ben Nye. I'm the CEO of Turbonomic, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Turbo Live. We appreciate you joining us, along with some of the best technology companies on the planet who are creating new and innovative capabilities to ensure business resiliency and business continuity in this time of risk and uncertainty. Why did we decide to start Turbo Live now? Because we're living through history as we speak. And technology is the key enabler, not only to emerging from this crisis, but to emerging stronger. Nelson Mandela reminds us that, quote, action without vision is only passing time. And vision without action is merely daydreaming. But when you combine action and vision, you can change the world. Our goal for hosting Turbo Live is to share both vision and actions that will help our customers manage and support the frontline workers at this time of crisis. At Turbonomic, we're inspired by what our friends, customers, and strategic technology partners are seeing. Think of Satya Nadella's comments, 2 years of digital transformation being collapsed into just the last 2 months alone. Think of Chuck Robbins, Cisco's CEO, who commented on the heroic effort by IT while forewarning that there is more we can do to prepare for the next crisis. And then there's IBM's Arvind Krishna, who says companies will become AI companies, not because they can, but because they must. These are the forward thinkers. These are the people setting the new direction. At Turbonomic, we've seen these efforts firsthand as we work so closely with our partners and customers at this time of need. Indeed, technology is the front line for those who serve on the front line, our first responders. Think about it. Can nurses at our customers like Healthcare Corporation of America and Partners Healthcare heal patients if their monitors don't work? Or if they can't retrieve patient data from electronic medical record applications? Can emergency medical technicians get to those who are critically ill if their networks fail? Or could vaccine researchers like our friends at Merck and Johnson & Johnson solve the riddle of vaccine that gets us to a new normal again without their tools to sequence genomes or collaborate with distant colleagues? That too is why we decided to organize Turbo Live, to share innovation that holds the opportunity to create a new and better future. Even in the midst of this pandemic, technology will lead the way. We see it every day. So we wanted to share it with all of you by bringing together the brightest minds in technology. These are the leaders who will help us all build a stronger future. Today, you will hear from many of the partners you've relied on to create the resiliency and to weather this crisis. Folks like Microsoft and AWS and IBM have been instrumental in providing resilient public cloud resources to keep vital businesses running. They are our partners as well at Turbonomic, and they will share what they're seeing and how they see technology evolving. You'll also hear from industry luminaries such as Gary Reiner, who's the current board member of Citigroup and Hewlett-Packard and Turbonomic. He's also the former CIO and head of strategy for General Electric. You'll hear from last year's CIO of the Year, Ian Penny from Hiscox Insurance, who previously also led digital transformations of Barclays Bank and JP Morgan Chase, leveraging the Turbonomic technology. They will share how they see this world of technology evolving. You will hear from customers solving problems in new and innovative ways. And I believe you'll learn a great deal from each of them, not just their vision, but also their actions. The one reality we all face is that the world has changed fundamentally, and we don't and won't be going back to where we were just a few months ago. But while that reality is fixed, the future is still being written, and technology holds the pen. This new and mainly digital normal is accelerating what was already in place. A year ago, IDC predicted that over 60% of world GDP would be digital by 2022. We expect that prediction to have grown. But the real question is, to what level? Could it reach 80%? Could it exceed it? We see in every one of our businesses an explosion in demand that comes in many unpredictable new ways. These explosions are forcing IT to evolve at an increasingly rapid pace. If everyone is meeting online, buying online, living online, applications are being stressed like they've never been before. IT must not only race with development now to meet ever-shifting market trends. At the same time, however, IT must be increasing its responsiveness to meet the expectations of more and more users. This is leading to an exponential increase in application complexity and scale. It's what IT must do to ensure that consumers and the business worlds are up and running no matter what the challenges. Application performance will be the topic that you're going to hear an awful lot about today. If you consider the complexity and scale of modern applications, you know better than most that they're only as good as the resources supporting them. Matter of fact, this massive schism between the line of business who's refactoring and rewriting apps and central IT, which is replatforming and rehosting those apps, represents the largest opportunity for advancement in IT operations, resiliency, and continuity. But just think what the supply chain of an application looks like today. At the top, we have the business application that are supported by many logical and physical resourcing tiers on which the application's performance depends. Complexity arises immediately in managing the amount and the order and the timing of resource decisions across all these different tiers. But it gets far more complex than that. When IT operations then manage multiple different applications that share all of this common environment across all those tiers, IT operations is outmanned. As a matter of fact, you then add on top of it, IT operations must pass all of these tests 24/7 by 365 without violating any of its compliance or governance policies. And if that weren't enough, when we add the new normal of dynamic, unpredictable application demand and the complexity that compounds, causing resource congestion among all the different tiers that starve mission-critical applications, it's overwhelming. The result is something we've all experienced before. We call it the loading wheel of death. And this is time when users have to wait. Every time that wheel rotates, companies are losing millions of dollars. But even worse, in today's environment, frontline workers are forced to wait. IT can do better. IT must do better. And we're here, Turbo Live, to tell you that IT will do better. You see, at the end of the day, bottlenecks result from lack of prioritization. When dynamic application demand share a common resource pool, they must learn how to share or they will congest around the first time they face a bottleneck, and then nothing will move. IT's response was to adapt initially a bunch of manual tools to try and solve the congestion problem. But unfortunately, no manual tool can possibly scale to meet this level of complexity. Moreover, fragmented tool sets means that operators only see a portion of the full application supply chain, like just the network or just the storage or just the compute. Meanwhile, all that time, we're wasting critical first responders' time. Historically, IT tried to over-provision their way out of this problem. They purchased more infrastructure resources to avoid congestion. But alas, what they learned is that it doesn't work. It's exceedingly expensive because you have to provision every application to its potential peak capacity times all those applications. And obviously that is not cost effective, particularly in the face of the cloud. What's really needed here is a top-down application-driven system that matches application demand and resource supply. It's similar to how Waze systems manages automobile congestion on our roadways. They factor in the full supply of comprehensive road systems and routes, and then they match demand of real-time traffic and congestion. In so doing, they can give you a comprehensive evaluation, an alternative route structure with an outcome of when you'll arrive. So what Turbonomic does is it provides a system that integrates and augments every layer of the application stack to continuously match application demand with the available infrastructure resources and supply. A platform seamlessly integrated with APM tools, with cloud-native schedulers, with orchestrators, layers of virtualization, all the way down to your physical storage. This alternative is called ARM, Application Resource Management. And it doesn't matter whether your workloads run on-prem, in a container, in AWS, or in Azure. You'll have continuous application performance assurance regardless of where the workloads run. This is the world for which we built Turbonomic. A world that's digital first, with volatile and unpredictable demand and highly discerning users. But that's okay because we harness the power of the demand to assure the performance, compliance, and cost effectiveness. It's this ability to see, connect, and optimize the entire application stack from code down to node across thousands of customers, tens of thousands of applications, and millions of workloads that make us realize how quickly digital transformation was accelerating. All of us in this Turbonomic companies, whether we're talking about Turbonomic, Sev1, Park My Cloud, have been working around the clock remotely to continue innovating and helping frontline heroes like yourself transform everything overnight and keep the lights on without missing a beat. We're seeing new and interesting challenges coming from customers and prospects alike. It's been a thrilling time to have the opportunity to do our part. All turbos know we are here to build the future of performance. We've been doing this in tandem with our alliance partners like Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, and our newest partner, just announced yesterday, IBM. And now we are seeing they are innovating with our technologies to help them support their customers and in turn support the frontline workers. You see, we're all in this together. So we thought we would take a moment and give something back to all of you. We want to enable our customers, partners, and turbos alike to share their experiences so we can share the best practices and learn from each other. By providing you the best possible vision with the best possible actions, our hope is that we can all get back to building a better, more digital future together. Thank you. And thank you for joining Turbo Live. And with that, I'll hand things over to my colleague and our CMO, Tom Murphy, and Edwin Paalvast, who's leading the amazing specialist team at Cisco Sales, to hear Edwin's view of the path forward.
So thanks, Ben. Thanks for the handoff. Appreciate it. We're fortunate today to have Edwin Paalvast here, SVP of Global Specialist Sales at Cisco, 20 years at Cisco, an amazing background, and is going to share some insight today. So he's had many roles, president of EMEA, service providers, services, tremendous depth in customer environments, and actually a PhD in computer science, which is a rare find. So welcome, Edwin.
Thank you very much, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so Edwin, this is, as we say, the last 3 months have been like nothing we've ever experienced before. And I know with global responsibility for sales and customers, we'd love to get some perspective on what you're seeing in the world.
Well, Tom, clearly, if you look at the last 3 months, what we've seen is a differing impact actually of the coronavirus globally. Right? And that actually really determined what our customers needed. Because when lockdown started to hit, clearly people needed to react very, very quickly, and they needed to be agile in the sense that they needed to make sure they had, connectivity for workers from home, that ability to scale up their digital infrastructure as there was more demand coming in, and also the demand was coming from different points because people were working from home or customers were coming in from home. So all that capability needs to actually be deployed very quickly. And as you can imagine, virtually all knowledge workers moving to video, that was also a very big jump. But our immediate focus was, and hopefully you saw this as well, was actually make sure that people stay connected. In many cases, we also had free offers for both video as well as security to make sure that actually every sector of the economy could actually keep on going.
Yeah, it's again, it's amazing how focused people have become. When you think about going back prior to this period and today, what do you see customers doing differently? There's, again, I think focus is a primary key to what's most important, but what do you see from customers?
Well, Tom, what we're seeing, and this is also Ben referred to, the IDC study, where in 2022, we are expecting like 60% of the people to actually interact fully digitally with most companies on average. However, what's of course happened in this situation, people went from 30 to 40% digital to in many cases 100% because there were no shops open. So this was a major difference and a major challenge for a lot of our customers, and that's what we're trying to help them with. So that was also one thing. And secondly, what we then needed to do was a very clear prioritization and make sure that their capacity stayed online. We deployed a lot of software-defined WAN because, again, where things were being processed and where demand was changing very quickly as well. And once actually we kind of established that capability, of course, the second one was very important, was security, to make sure that as well people working from home, that was done securely. And the other point was then to start actually looking at, okay, what could be the scenarios post-lockdown, right? So those were actually in the past 3 months that we've been very busy with. But we tried to kind of segment it in connectivity, stay up, do the security, and then get the analytics to figure out what's next.
Yeah, and I think obviously a renewed focus on communication as well with everyone remote and staying connected. It's so critical. So, when you think about, again, in a global role, what's always interesting, from the States perspective, looking into EMEA, sometimes you think you understand, the differences, but you obviously have that perspective on a day-to-day basis. Do you see different types of responses or activities based on, for example, US versus EMEA, or a lot of similarities? What do you see happening?
I think the overall trends are very, very similar, as we just discussed. However, there were different phases of lockdown in different countries. So we saw, for example, Italy, Spain on a pretty strict lockdown for quite a long time. And similar in the US, where some New York were actually harder hit and were locked down more severely. So what we actually analyzed is a pre-lockdown, during lockdown, and post-lockdown. And we see very similar patterns in terms of which industry sectors or segments are actually bouncing back after lockdown. And that's actually pretty similar around the world. And then, of course, in some cases, the US is actually more evolved in terms of online sales and online delivery. So that was actually something that accelerated even more in the US than it did locally. And what we saw in Europe, for example, is more smaller companies and even very local companies picking up the electronic delivery, picking up takeaway, takeouts, even kind of higher class restaurants or something going for takeout because they wanted to survive during that period. So, but in the main, kind of the patterns were pretty similar.
When you look at the work from home requirements that people have, and for the most part, let's say that given that it's been a couple months, few months, people have fulfilled a lot of those requirements. And when you think about moving forward, whether it's the new requirements or how Cisco can help and advance organizations with their new priorities, what role and what technologies you think specifically can help with customers moving forward?
I think one of the big lessons learned with such a high percentage, as already said from the IDC experience, now actually people move to nearly 100% digital. It's very clear that that's how customers now will experience your brand, your services. It's all around how does the application, whether it's on your PC or on your mobile phone, how does it respond? What's the experience feels like? And what we've seen in studies is, for example, like 100 millisecond delay can already cost you a couple of percentage points of customers that actually get turned away from it, or a short outage or even a small service interruption can cost you a lot of money because online people have pretty high expectations, also of course driven by a lot of the web scalers, and if you don't meet those, it's very, very hard. So the insights, first of all, to know what the customer experience is. If you know what the customer experience is, to know why. And if you know why it isn't working, how do you action it? And that all has to happen very, very quickly. Because again, back to the stats I just gave, if you don't do it, actually you might lose customers very quickly. So that was one important thing. And the other point is that those people are not working inside the walls of the company anymore. So the whole security has to be rethought. You can't actually rely on physical place anymore because people are everywhere, right? So zero trust came up very, very quickly, and how do you actually enable and implement that? And then the last point is, as people start to come back to work, to the workforce or to the workplace, and in some industries you have to, how do you actually use analytics like Wi-Fi to detect where people are? Or for example, to say somebody who's outside of the building, hey, there's already so many people in the building, so you can't go to this building, or even if you're on your way to work, that you actually get directed immediately to a building or a workplace where it's safe to work, right? And then, of course, how can you schedule this and make sure you can meet up with actually the people you want to meet up with? So all these different things ask for way more information, and actually the network and our tools can give this to the company. So that's what we actually seen as companies start to respond and react and come back to work.
Yeah, it does seem like there's been a shift from face-to-face, obviously personal communication and personal relationships, to digital relationships, right? I think you've emphasized the idea that the brand and the face, and a lot of times the experience, is now part of the relationship much more than it was in the past. So yeah, interesting transition. Speaking of transitions, I know WebEx is one of the most, let's say, stressed applications during this time, right? People rely on it more than ever. And obviously Cisco's had to make some, just make sure it scales as the demand has changed. What are some of the lessons learned when you think about WebEx and evolving to support this growth? How have you evolved to make sure that it's responding and supporting the demand?
Well, Tom, what happened, of course, was a very, very fast shift. And remember, WebEx has a very large customer base already. Yeah. So as that starts to double or triple, you're talking about very big volumes of people and bandwidth, actually. So our main priority was actually to keep people connected. And it was interesting to a CEO, Chuck Robbins, a lot of our customers came to him and said, hey, you actually are the one that keeps our company going. And those were very large companies. And so that put a lot of stress on us to make sure that we increased capacity of data centers, the cloud, connectivity, but also something that people tend to forget. In a lot of cases, countries are actually dependent because there's less broadband, for example, on voice capacity, right, where you dial back through voice. So we've been working on many fronts, and we're very thankful to a lot of our partners, particularly telecom partners, that actually helped us to scale up that capacity so quickly. And then what we also did, we gave a free offer to make sure that not only our corporate customers, but also others in society and governments could stay online and could work, or in the healthcare environment. And so we had to modulate it as well, because demand was virtually unlimited. But I think we were able to keep all these things balanced. And if you look at the performance, I think we did the best we could, given the level of stress that was put on the infrastructure. But it showed to us as well that the ability to measure whether, for example, WebEx was performing well, and just the things I described, to understand whether the application is working, to move the workloads as soon as possible, to be able to have it closest to the customer, so you limit the level of traffic that's happening. And we actually experienced exactly the same thing as our customers experienced with their application. So it was a good lesson learned in how to actually apply it to ourselves.
Yeah, it's an amazing, think of a case study of the demand, the change, and such an important role in what's going on right now. So relative to the next 12 months, when you think about moving forward, right? So let's say that we've at least we've evolved, we've adapted to the current situation, but we continue as technologists to continue to add additional capabilities, see patterns, see demand. When you think about Cisco's direction moving forward, post pandemic, what additional things, or let's say solutions, will you be focused on, and what additional things we bring to market?
What it's going to do, Tom, is actually accelerating the things we're doing already. Our main push actually has been also in Cisco Live Barcelona, which we had passed in January, was the architecture we actually developed together with yourselves, where actually we link the application experience all the way down to the infrastructure. What I already said, when we discover whether the experience is the right experience, when it isn't, what we need to do to action it and to improve it. But it actually means that we need to be able to understand whether a workload is working, whether it's on the private network, whether in a managed environment, whether it's in the cloud, and how quickly you can actually move them around. And that's, of course, where Turbonomic is very strong, but also actually linking into all the different tools that our customers have. The northbound tools, could be a ServiceNow, could be a Datadog, where you need to understand what's happening there. And all these capabilities we've seen now actually are even much higher demand, right? So we will accelerate the strategy we had, and we'll push that even harder. And then the whole automation. So if you detect something, why actually give it back to the NOC if we can actually jointly immediately remediate it? So we discover there's a contention on the server, so why not replicate it or move to the cloud, or move some of the VMs or containers into other environments. And the fact that Turbonomic has all the different capabilities and the interfaces to most of the cloud players actually helps us as well to kind of fit this into virtually every customer's infrastructure, even if it's a brownfield. Right, so those capabilities are very helpful. And then what you'll see us doing is actually push this whole concept of analytics much further. And once you get more analytics, of course, you can also start to automate even more. But it's all centered around this application experience and how we can keep that, how can keep on improving that.
Yeah, and tying back to one of the things we covered earlier, when you think about, we used to have face-to-face, which will return eventually, but that digital experience and that user experience has become a bigger part of the relationship. So making sure we get that right is critical. So Edwin, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom today. And in closing, we've had a tremendous partnership. I wanted to give you an opportunity just to reflect on that a bit, share any final thoughts, and also, if you wanted to, personally, I've been working from home for 3 months and spending more time with my family, and I got a garden this year, and there's a lot of things that I've been able to turn lemons into lemonade. If you want to share any personal experience as well relative to the situation, so.
Yeah, so thanks, Tom. And yes, the collaboration has been really good, and I think it's been kind of a very fortunate event where so many things came together from a Cisco strategy, from where Turbonomic was, and of course we've been working together for quite some time already. But many things actually even pre-COVID actually accelerated it. But if you look at a personal experience, so I'm actually also started to do more nature. I've been walking, cycling a lot, and also having been able to spend more time with the family has been really good. I picked up cooking, so I probably need my family to be a judge of that, but I'm enjoying it. And so it's sometimes you need to make out of it what you can make out of it, and actually doing everything by video is sometimes tiring, but it actually has replaced a lot of flying, which is sometimes also tiring. So I'm actually enjoying this as well.
Excellent. Well, again, thanks for your time today. Appreciate the partnership. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom, experience. You know, it's nice to hear from someone who has such a broad perspective. Stay healthy, stay well. Look forward to seeing you soon, Edwin. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tom. Appreciate it.